Hey, this is Dennis. Today I'm going to talk about drawing something new. Maybe it's something you've never drawn before, or maybe drawing's new to you altogether. But today I'm going to draw this. I started drawing birds to start to build a collection of something. Um, I've always kind of dabbled in different nature things, from little sketches, of really anything, trees, just different landscapes, just different little doodles, I guess you could call it. But I never really set forth to put together any type of good collection, of items. So about, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago, I started with these little bird sketches, um, just using the tech pens, the micron pens, um, to create these line drawings. I really wanted to start building a collection of things and really start to learn to draw something new. And that's kind of what I was wanting to talk about today, was kind of talking about, maybe trying to draw something that you haven't drawn in the past, or something new, and how that relates to, to your experience up to that point. How do you draw from the experience that you have drawing other things and apply that to something new? Um, the style that I'm using with these feeder bird with the feeder bird collection is using the cross hatching, or using the contour. I'm calling it contour hatching. It's more of a line type shading, versus the cross hatching, which I prefer. But learning to draw something new to me is kind of a chance to really expand your knowledge and experience, and your versatility as an artist, and to broadening your skills. Um, I think eventually I'd like to put together some sort of book, some sort of printed item that I can, you know, uh, put in my shop, or give to others, to have, as kind of a keepsake. But really just kind of trying to build that collection and get better at something new. I think if I get done with the bird the bird collection, I could move on to something like insects or trees, or landscapes. Really could be anything. Um, I prefer something nature related, but really could be anything that you want to get better at. And I think getting better at drawing something takes time, right? So you can't just draw something once or twice, and feel comfortable with what you're doing. It takes 50, 100, maybe 200. It takes a lot of practice to get into where you're understanding the anatomy, if it's something, if it's an animal, or a hand or a leg, or a person, just getting to understand that the anatomy and the contours of lights and darks, and the shading that's involved there. But with birds, I'm working on this feeder bird collection. With birds, there are a lot of similarities between some of these smaller feeder birds. A lot of the wing sizes, the legs, uh, the eyes, the beaks. They're very similar from bird to bird. If you look at if you look at this bird versus trying to think of some other birds that I've drawn. But if you look at some of the birds I've drawn, up to this point, a lot of them are pretty similar, and they do have some similarities. A lot of the differences is in color, but but I'm not really addressing the color in my drawings at this point. But I can still highlight the lights and darks in the drawings, with the hatching, which is what I've tried to do. So you can kind of see here I kind of start with a thicker outline with with kind of the initial outline, kind of defining some of the bigger parts of the bird, and then that kind of gives me a starting point to work with. So it's really focusing on that repetition, getting in a lot of experience drawing that one thing, and it doesn't happen overnight by any means. I found that you really have to focus on that anatomy and really get a good feel for what things really look like. If you've taken anatomy class in college, or maybe you've studied anatomy at some point, you know that there are the underlying muscles and parts of an animal or a bird that gives it that shape. And I think that's where paying attention to that, and then kind of showing that in the line, like in the hatching, is really what kind of brings those drawings to life for me. At first, I really started to focus a lot on the line weight, and really trying to get all of the lines perfect, and getting everything just exact. But what I found is that if you really study what you're drawing, whether it's a picture, or it's usually a picture, but if you're really studying what you're drawing, and you understand the shape and the pattern, and the texture, you can really represent that with the hatching, whether you're using crosshatching or using contour hatching, you can really represent that shape in your line work. Maybe in some of the darker areas, you might have your lines might be closer together. In some of the lighter areas, maybe on top of the head, or on top of the body, you might have lines that are a little bit further apart. So you can kind of represent some of that in your line work. So pay attention. If you're doing the hatching, or you're doing even like stipple or different type of shading technique, pay attention to the distance, in your lines, or your points on the page. Typically, when you're shooting for something a little bit more on the darker side, you tend to bring things a little closer together. So your dots would be a lot closer together. With the stippling, with your line work, your lines would be a lot closer together. So it's just something to pay attention to, when you're working on your shading. But yeah, see how your your existing style can apply to your new thing, and don't be afraid to try new things, with different subject matters. One other thing too is just taking your time. I find that a lot of times, when I first started drawing, I wanted to, really focus on getting a lot of drawings done and really turning things out. What I found too is that at the end of the day, when you're done with the drawing, you can really tell how patient you were and how much time you're spending, on a drawing. If you're hurrying through a drawing versus really taking your time to pay attention to detail, paying attention to to shape and texture, it really comes through, in the final product in your drawing at the end. I've kind of done side by side comparisons in the past, and some of my best drawings are when I'm relaxed, when I'm in a good mood, maybe listening to a little bit of music or something, something to relax the mood a little bit. I always do my best drawing, when I'm comfortable. So just something to think about too, if you're wanting to, do good work and kind of find that happy place and find a place where you can, have quiet and concentrate and really, enjoy what you're doing because if you're not, in my opinion, I think it really shows in the work that you're doing, as you go through, and that's something I think that, you kind of learn as you go through and you get better, each time you draw something, and you can probably ask experienced illustrators, the same questions, and they'll probably tell you that same answer. So yeah, just be intentional about the marks you're making and about the line work that you're using, and don't get in a hurry, and kind of treat it, kind of treat it with care and really, and really take your time and get a good product. So I think eventually I'll probably branch out to something different. Once I've kind of burnt through, a lot of these bird drawings. But I think I think at the end of the day, I want to have something that something that I tackled, right. So I went through all the tough learning with drawing something new and something I can be proud of, at the end of the day, and really be proud of a good collection. So not sure really what I'm going to tackle next, but I think I'd like to put together, some collections of drawings. Maybe once I finish the birds, maybe I could do, maybe it's 70, 50, 75 insects, or 50 or 75 trees, or something, that is another collection I can build and really build upon that skill. So that's my plan, is to continue trying new things, and I definitely encourage that for people, who maybe aren't happy with the product that they're getting at the moment, or maybe you're an experienced illustrator, maybe you're getting too much of one kind of work, just try something new on your own. It doesn't have to be a paid project. Make a book. Make something that you can print out and give to your friends, or give to your family, or put it in your store. Just try something new, and it doesn't have to be completely out of your wheelhouse. Maybe you start with something you're somewhat familiar with, or something that maybe you've been meaning to give it a try for a while, and just don't be afraid to kind of branch out and try something new. And one other thing that I've found to be helpful, is to get feedback, especially when I'm trying something new. So, I think I tend to get locked into a certain style sometimes, in a certain direction, and I don't really open myself up to, good constructive, feedback. I think it's kind of a comfortable place to be, is just with your own art, and really not open yourself up to feedback, and just be happy with what you're making, and publishing work just, without, much feedback, just kind of in a bubble. But what I'd recommend is ask your family, ask other artists, what they think about, about the product, about the final drawings, and if how they feel about the proportions. How are the shapes? Is it how do they feel about the style? Open yourself up to feedback. From people you trust. Um, they don't necessarily have to be artists, or um, any professional in that area, but open yourself up to some feedback and really get better because feedback is what helps us all get better and really hone in on troubleshooting. Whether it's with the contrast with lights and darks, or maybe if you're drawing a person, maybe you're good with the hands, and maybe you're good with the legs, but maybe the head is out of proportion. I think sometimes when you work on something, for long periods of time, you get a little bit numb to things, and you don't kind of lose your perspective with your own art. So I think it helps to talk with other artists and talk with your family about how things look, and about their suggestions, and about their thoughts and feelings about the art. I think it only makes us better. I mean, at the end of the day, we're creating art for ourselves, but we're also creating it for other people, and so other people's opinions really matter. So it's we should never be afraid to really open ourselves up for good constructive criticism at that point. So yeah, so keep at it. Don't be afraid to try something new, and really branch out, and always share your work. Don't be afraid to share your work, and trying something new. And I think over time, you'll build. You'll be more versatile. You build your library, and you'll just overall, become a better artist overall. Um, but yeah, that's the big key is to really put yourself out there, and really open yourself up, and don't be afraid. Be confident, and really work on things, and get better overall, because we don't get better all at once. It takes a lot. It takes time to get better, little by little as we go. So all right, well, just finishing up here. So thanks for watching, and more to come, with the drawings, and be in touch. Thanks.
Hey, looks like you made it through the video, so don't forget to subscribe and like. Thanks.